I'm Dad.
And we're daughters. And this is Dad and Daughters Kine Tings. Aloha. Welcome to the third episode of Dad and Daughters Kine Tings. We might have a daughters today, but thank you so much to Kako Hawaii Mental Health Collective again for having us today. We want to mahalo them for this beautiful space that we're in. A little bit of a different setup.
Yes.
And then we also want to thank all of you for watching our podcast. The last couple episodes we've been receiving a lot of aloha, a lot of love, messages that Dad has responded to some of your questions. If you guys have any questions about what we talk about in this episode, please feel free to leave those down below, or follow us on Instagram at DaughterS Kine Tings to get a little bit more of the behind the scenes work that we're doing here on the podcast, and then what we're doing outside, because we just had some great things happen recently.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, for sure.
Yes, down below. And I feel like we have another S, or like maybe another daughter here today, another body. We want to welcome my younger sister. She is back home for spring break from her first year of college at Utah Tech. She's also a Division I volleyball player. I want to welcome in KALEINANI Watson! Yee! Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone.
Yeah.
I'm KALEINANI and I am the second daughter.
Second's the best.
I'm happy to just be home and spend time with the fam. I'm home for a week, so I'm just so lucky to be here. Thank you for having me.
We haven't got to see her though. She's out and about, but no.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're back home from school.
Yeah.
I love it. And so today's episode, Dad wants to share.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with our wins. So as a family, we created these wins to always be optimistic and positive about life, what's going on around us, and to have that positive mindset so that no matter how things are going, there's always something that we can celebrate and have our win. So something that we created for dinner time, I guess for parents out there, we're always struggling with phone times and whatnot, and it was a way for us to put our phones away, even us as parents, to put our phones away and really create discussion. And so one part was that we would celebrate our wins, and our wins could be anything from the simple fact of getting out of bed to some big celebrations of promotions, awards, whatever that could be.
Yeah.
But my win today is definitely being here with my daughters. I can be so proud, and also in this setting to really talk to express myself and my feelings about them and how proud I am of them and their being and their doing, and yes, for sure, to share this space with them is definitely a win for me.
Your turn.
My turn. Your turn. Me? Yes.
My win is being home. Obviously being here, but also just being able to come home and spend the week and just kind of ground myself and just recenter where my roots are, I guess. That's basically just a little win for me.
I love it.
Yeah.
I would say definitely being here. My win, I just finished a run of Rent the Musical at UH Manoa, where I played Mimi, and that was a really big win for me. I got to experience so many different people. I got to gain so much confidence in who I am as a performer and just who I am as a person. And I actually got I'm nominated for a scholarship actually from it. So that's definitely something that I'm proud of and that I want to celebrate.
Yay, that's awesome.
So we're going to come back to that scholarship later in the episode too, but definitely again proud of what Rent, like the two of them, right? Rescue Hawaii. They both were on episode 16, right? Not this past Monday, but they both were on the two.
She better play volleyball.
Right, and Kaena being in Rent, I did post about the opening night. I didn't do closing night. If those of you who follow us, however, it was sold out. All shows sold out. You added a show on Thursday, this past Thursday, but just let's talk about that a little bit, because one, for you being back in the theater, like we talked a little bit about that in the other episodes, but for you to be back on stage rather than in front of camera, for whether it be photos or social media and stuff, but being back on the stage, for me, I'll share a little bit. It was like, wow, this is like game time, like big time, like for you mentally preparing for the upcoming. It was just like a couple months, really. And but yeah, definitely not knowing what to expect and what role and everything, learning, us learning about the show and Rent and all of that.
How big it was.
It was a big family, event for us, and we all got to thank you to everyone who watches and got to come out and support Kaena and throughout all the 6-7 nights, the shows. But talk a little bit about that, just share about what that was coming to be and coming about.
Yeah, I think in this episode we're gonna get into a lot of how I got there and just like the experience of how much really this means to me because of the journey and the path that I've gone through, and just a little bit about it. This means so much to me, so much to have gone to New York and done those things, but then to be here in Hawaii and to have done the performance and done the production with the people that I did it with like Bubba, Kaipo, like all of my friends, like literally just all of my friends, all the people that I love so much. It's definitely the biggest like milestone. Like I would say Rescue High Surf is huge, but when I think about being in a production here in Hawaii and on stage, I think it just takes me back to being 6 years old and feeling the love for theater and wanting to do it forever and ever. And so that was huge for me, and to be able to accept that into my accept that I deserve to be there and I deserve to be the part that I was. I played Mimi in Rent, and to be there for myself was huge. Yeah.
Mimi was a big role in it. Huge. It wasn't just like ensemble or this
I was that girl.
Mimi was the girl on that with some of her own battles that she had to deal with and relationships and whatnot. But the fact that you had a lot of singing, that was a big one for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what my singing voice really sounds like. I was always shocked by seeing videos and seeing what I could actually do, and so this was huge, and I think I'm going to continue to do it more and more.
Yeah, I think without much vocal training and whatnot, I mean, you do a lot. You know how I feel. I like hearing you sing, and there was something that you always sort of held back on, right? And so I always enjoy hearing you sing.
Thank
you. Of course.
Oh.
Well,
we know Claire.
You want to go 25,600
minutes. Okay, so one of the reasons.
Good backup.
One of the reasons I'm glad that Kalei is here today is because in this episode we're going to be talking about a transitional period, or just like transitions into, because she has gone into college this past year, and that's been a big transition for her, and playing volleyball and getting to acclimate herself into this new space, which I've gone through in New York, and Dad has gone through for me now and you. And so talking about what it is for girls and for kids to go into that, whether that be college, whether that be after high school, or just traveling in general, what that means to move into a new space, move into a new area, how you can be there for yourself, how you can feel support from your family members, from people that you love so much, and how they can help you through those transitional periods, because it's very important to have community, have people that you can trust within that. And then kind of a little bit about our journey and Dad's journey within that. And I think as we're talking about Rent, as we're talking about this aloha, Rent is all about seasons of love, right? Like living every day in aloha. And so how can we live like that within these transitional periods? How can we give that to ourselves, give that to the places that we're going to, and be there for one another? Okay. So I guess...
Should I go first?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this for this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead,
Dad. Spring break, right? It's college, it's... everybody has their first experience of doing their first ventures, right? Of going to different areas and whatnot. But college, we'll talk about college. And what we want to do is make sure that we can provide you guys with some content and some ideas, some things to think about, and how we want to guide ourselves as parents, and then also our children. So, it was a goal, right, for Mom and Dad, for you guys to go to school, right? With that, we did set up, right, our 5 to 9 fund. So that was something that was taken out automatically once a month for you to generate, money to help pay for your folks' school.
Yeah.
Then Mom had a great idea.
As she does.
Yeah. She had a great idea. And the thing about it, right, if you guys are wondering for parents, it's like, how do you make it be valuable or create value for secondary education?
Yeah. How do you earn that for us?
Yeah. We're earning and then have ownership, right? And that's what we did. And the idea is that, okay, they come up and they be responsible for paying half of that tuition wherever they went to school. And that could be earning it not just through work, but through scholarship, through grants, through however that was going to be. And so that helped them to be accountable into their academics first, and then of course theater, dance, volleyball, and whatnot. So they took it on, and that promoted a little bit more accountability and excellence in high school.
Yeah.
Right? And so they would pay half, and then we would pay half, and then if they earned the whole 100%, then our money would then be reinvested either for or postgraduate or whatever it may come, right? So kind of, right, you earned half, right, going to New York by academic dance honors.
Academic honors.
Yeah, academic honors of going to Pace University in New York City.
Yeah.
And then Kalei earned her Po'okula scholarship from Kamehameha schools. And so they started that.
Yeah.
Right? They went and went towards earning or figuring out what they were going to do. So that was the value that we created, right? And that was the expectation in a sense that we had for you folks, right? To go there.
Yeah.
But share what that was like then for you folks on that expectation, or how you're gonna navigate yourself to, okay, this is what Mom and Dad want for us. Do I want that? Or how did that? What were some of those thoughts and questions that you had for yourselves?
First of all, I want you to go first, but I want to say that was, I think, kudos to my parents, kudos to our parents. I think that was a great idea for us because it brought value for me. And I honestly took pride in being able to pay for half of my college and being able to do that for myself. Like I did that. Like it was like just I felt good about that, and so I felt good about going to college because of that more so. So I wanted just to like give some stars where it's and give their flowers where it's meant.
But I'm sure it was certainly something unexpected, or like, what do I do if I don't? That.
totally.
Yeah, like what were some of any of those thoughts or feelings? I mean, granted, yes, you guys took it by the horns and owned
Said,
it.
okay,
yes,
here we go.
owned it, but yeah,
Want me to go
like
first?
what do you know? Like I'm sure there are other emotions around it as you come towards senior year and stuff. Or what I'm gonna do? Like
Yeah,
when all
go ahead,
kind of
Kalei.
things.
So I think I was maybe around like 6th or 7th grade when Mom came up with this brilliant idea.
She got it from our dentist. Let me just preface. She got it from our dentist because apparently she was in procedure one day and he told her that, and then all of a sudden it was boom implemented. So
Yeah. And I was like, wow, so, like, how's this gonna work? Like, I'm in 7th grade and I already have to think about paying for college, and I was like, okay. And then it kind of just became a thing, like, that would just, like, be brought up as we were going through school, and then I was like, okay, senior year, what am I doing? I kind of figured out I wanted to play volleyball when I was maybe, like, a freshman in high school, and so that's kind of when I, like, honed in on, like, going for that and, like, trying to, like, earn scholarships in that regards. And then I guess kind of just towards senior year it was like, okay, I gotta apply for scholarships, I gotta look to see where I can get the most money and look how much like tuition will be, like not just tuition but like room and board and books and like just living. And I was just like, wow, like how is this gonna work? And then luckily, I'm so fortunate that our school, Kaleiʻanaʻi Schools, has such a wide range of scholarships for their students. And I was like, okay, and the pool scholarship was maybe like the second year it was ever like, was like made. It was only the second year in my class, my senior year. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna bank on this one. I was like,
here we go.
And it was a really hard scholarship. I mean, you got like maybe 100 kids that tried out for it, and only like 54 were gonna get this scholarship. And it was one of the biggest ones that were gonna be given to students that went to Kamehameha schools. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to get this scholarship. And it wasn't easy. We had to go, like, each student had to go through like this whole process of like submitting a 250 word like essay, and then if you got past that, then you get to like get interviewed. You go through an interview with like a panel of like administration, and you'd like create a whole like presentation and things you want to talk about, and it's basically the whole point of it is how you're going to impact Oahui when you go away.
Right.
So it was more of like, how was I going to be able to
Use
my own experiences to prove like why I'm worthy for the scholarship, but also like share about who I am as a person. And that allowed me to like dive deeper into the things that I've done at school and like use classes that I've been like went through to help me with this process.
What was it that you said that you were gonna give back to the Lahui or make an impact?
Yeah, so the biggest one for that was connecting it to my career choice. And what I want to do is I want to become a sports psychologist as of right now. And I told them this, and I also said like my biggest goal was to maybe come back and be a sports psychologist for the school and help athletics, because I was part of athletics from middle school and there were not as many resources for that kind of stuff that I think could benefit a lot of high school students, especially now that how mental health has been taking a huge toll on athletes. And I was also part of a pretty rigorous program on the hill. The volleyball program is
no doubt
insane. So it was a lot of fun, but there was a lot of things that I did go through, a lot of adversity, and that was my biggest talking point, and also just like my culture and how that's important to me. And I have a kakauhi, and I talked about that. I'm ʻokuauhau and how that connects to me and how it's super important to me and how I want to just provide for those while I am away. And with this process, like, it didn't matter what school you were going to. Obviously they were looking at more of the kids that were thinking about going to Ivy League schools and like just higher end academic, which makes sense because they're going to invest a lot of money in these students. But I didn't let that kind of get to like steer, because obviously I was going to school to play volleyball, so like that wasn't gonna like
steer you away.
Yeah, it was kind of just hard to get through, but a lot of kids like just went for it, and as they should have, right? It wasn't like it was kind of a crazy process, but there wasn't as many steps as people kind of would like thought. But anyways, yeah, super grateful to get that scholarship and have it for at least 4 years. Or have it for 4 years, actually, as long as I'm in school.
Yeah.
And luckily I'm able to pay for all my schooling with that. And and then some. I do have leftover as of right now for living. Yeah. And so kind of just going through that transition and putting in that work, because I was banking on the scholarship.
Dude, that's so fun. I did not have that scholarship to try and bank on.
Right. I think, like you were saying too, like some people just canceled them out and didn't
cancel
count themselves out because they didn't apply because of the levels and the steps that they have to do.
They're like, no, there's no way I'm gonna get it.
Just maybe real quick, like, how did you sustain yourself in going through that?
Yeah.
The steps and because you're playing volleyball, you're holding yourself to high standard academically, and then still going through this application process. You want to talk about like some of that, motivating thoughts you had to do for yourself, or just things that you had to, positive self-talk to complete it, or what was the driving force to keep you going to complete it?
Well, applying for a scholarship is really hard, and it takes a lot of time, I think, for kids, and some people are just really good at that, and I didn't really put a lot of time into it, just because it did take a lot of time and effort and extra things that I needed to do. But I guess what kept me going was just the support. I had a teacher that really helped me like write the 250 word essay to submit, and that helped me a lot, like be confident in what I was submitting and like understanding what I really wanted to do. And then for the presentation part, I kind of just like went back to thinking like what they wanted to see, the panels and like administration and Pokula wanted to see, and just kind of integrate that as much as possible, and also talk to other kids that were going through the process as well. I know it can be kind of like competition. It is competitive, right? Because it is a huge scholarship to get. But I think just like relying on that kind of stuff and just kind of staying true to what I wanted to like talk about, and because there was a few talking points, because we have like, it's called ho'ola hui, and there's just like categories of things that you could talk about, and like you kind of were supposed to talk about in those meetings or in that panel that you're in. And I just kind of figured out which ones I kind of wanted to focus on, and then found like other subtopics with my mo'okahau, with the kakauhi, what I wanted to do to give back and go out into the real world and give from where I come from.
I think what Dad is kind of getting at, which I think you do a great job at, just like in general, is this idea of not selling yourself short and keeping yourself to a higher standard to know that like you deserve that role or that scholarship or that job or that spot in anything that you're in, because when you talk about this like mental health and this like psychology, when you like you're studying and that you got into really early in your volleyball career, how has that affected you, and like how do you stay true to you, and how are you able to keep yourself in that mindset, is like kind of maybe what
stay driven and how to overcome the obstacles, because
your own self-talk, like how is that important to you, and how has that affected you?
It's not easy. I think I guess in terms of volleyball, because I'm a student athlete, right, so I have to excel in the classroom as well as on the court, and like in terms of volleyball, I guess I think it is a little harder for me to really like, I'm always been like super disciplined and like driven and things like that, but just I guess like the actual work of like performing and execution, I think that is the biggest thing of like kind of how to stay positive and like
on the court.
Yeah, and keep striving, because I think when you said I keep myself to a higher standard, right, and I don't settle, I think that can also get the best of me sometimes, right, because I'm always just like, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough, and so that's why it can kind of take a bigger toll than I think. And I don't know, so in terms, like, I've always kind of just been like that student that would just do my work and like kind of go like that way, that route in school, so like that's never really the issue. It's more of, I guess, just kind of navigating the volleyball side of it, and that's where I kind of that's why I'm like more interested in doing sports psychology, just because I've encountered a lot of adversity with that, so that's kind of...
Yeah, I think Kalei does an amazing job. She has like a presence like on the court, and then off the court you have a very calming, I think I went to a women's leadership course, and they teach about how women are in leadership positions, and I think you do an amazing job at being calm, like nonchalant, but also like our girl Adri, but also having an honor to you that people want to listen to. And I think when you are met with adversity, you are amazing at switching the narrative, which we've learned from our parents, that with these wins, like that has been implemented into our life very early on, that one, things happen for us and they happen for a reason, and that two, this is our life and we can make it however we want, and that if something is happening to you, what are we learning from it? And I think throughout your whole career, and even now and what you're going through now, you've been able to do that. And I think that's something, as an older sister, I'm like, wow. She's like the younger sister, but like also 27 years old. So I think, thank you so much for sharing. Dad, do you have anything to say?
Well, no, not really, but I think you shared a good points of finding that value, staying driven through the challenges or the obstacles that you had to achieve what you wanted and the outcomes that you wanted. I think we all can share or learn from what you shared, and I think for anybody, I guess, like anybody out there, always is like, if you want something, you go get it. And you talked about support, and not only from us, right? Your immediate family and whatnot. You had teachers and others that were pushing you to that and holding you and supporting you in that way. So again, it's always, it takes a village, right? And our goal too is to help you folks find that village for yourselves and surround you with good people, and be able to get to find the characteristics and values of others that can be, that can support you, right? You guys have to have, like, build that within yourselves to know, right? Not, unfortunately, not everybody has, right, or, good intentions, right? But for the same point is that we have to know how to navigate that through life. And I think you guys did a good job of doing so.
I think that was a great transition into like my story, like your question, that like if you want something, you just have to go get it. Like you just have to do it, girl. You have to take that leap, you have to take that jump. I went to Pace University in New York City for my first 2 years of college, and I got half of my scholarship, or half of my school paid for. And I went to school during COVID, and so that was a little bit different for me and for my parents, and just for like everybody around the world, because I only toured...
coming out of COVID.
Coming out of COVID, yeah. I only had toured 2 colleges, NYU and Pace University. And so I got into Pace, and I was like, and she was there, and she was sleeping half the time. So eventually I had the thought, I knew that I've always known that I wanted to do theater. I've always known that I was a performer, but I got in my head and thought that I didn't deserve that spot, or I wasn't ready for that spot, and so I stopped. Instead,
what spot?
The spot in the world of theater in New York, the spot in the acting degree. I didn't even audition for my first year of college. I didn't even think that that was a possibility, right? And that has something to do with community and what's around me at that point in time, and what I knew people were doing. I didn't know that was something that we could do. You know what I mean? Because I didn't see anybody doing that, and so I stopped myself in that process. But eventually making that jump and making that decision to go to New York was a big decision for me, and I could kind of feel in my gut that maybe I wasn't ready yet, but I decided, and I was like, too bad, I'm doing it. Because
because the biggest thing was you were deciding between another school. And I was just, when you were deciding when you wanted to, like, where you wanted to go, it was between Pace and another school closer to home. And obviously staying closer to home was the safer route, but you got this scholarship. You were like, I'm not going to be able to go there. I'm not going to get it back if I want to go after. So you're like, might as well just go now and see how it is. And you did. And like you did that for 2 years, and that's a pretty long time. But that was like, I remember that vividly, because it was like, I was never a fan of New York, so that I was like, just stay close to home. Like, family. Go big. Yeah, like it was nothing crazy. But
she also got into UW as a regular student, which is very,
but
very,
I didn't
very,
get the,
very competitive.
Thank you.
Very, very
no, it is.
But I didn't get the honor scholarship, and I was like, what? I was like, that's rude, first of all. But that was a decision, like one of the reasons why I didn't end up going there, because if I had gotten the honor scholarship, I would have taken it more seriously.
Well, you would have got money, right?
I would have got money,
You would have got so.
But no, so then I was like, I guess go far. Like,
no, I know.
You might as well like take advantage of that scholarship, because it was a big scholarship,
huge scholarship,
right? Like you weren't gonna get that back if you decided to go maybe 2 years later, or like right now, like you wouldn't have.
That was honestly one of the reasons why, because to myself, I was like, why am I gonna go after school, after college, and I'm a broke college student, I'm out of college, I'm broke. Like, I might as well go while I'm in college, like have help from my parents maybe a little bit. And take that jump. But again, it was still in my that maybe that wasn't the correct decision for me, but I just did it and I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I'm very grateful for the people that I've met and the path that I've gone on because of it, and who I've become because of it, and the lessons I've learned. I would say that I definitely did rule out quicker than maybe I should have, because of maybe the stigmas that we hear often here in Hawaii of UH, and maybe of going to school and then coming back. And so something that happened to me was basically I went for 2 years, had something happen, I took a gap year, and then eventually decided to come home. And that decision, enroll in
because you were home already.
I was home, and decided not to go back to New York, because one, I had gotten rescue, high surf, and I had been making this community that we talk about, that you guys made in college, that I don't think I really made soul connections in New York. I did. I made great friends. I made great friendships and connections that I will always go back to, that I am so grateful for and will cherish forever. But my core people, I feel like I wasn't finding so much. And so making this decision to come back to school, or to come back to school here in Hawaii, I feel like my community is so ma'a and really building. And I would say that if you feel something, if you hear a calling, if you hear somebody calling to, because Hawaii was knocking on my door, you know what I mean? And when I was in New York, I was trying to prove it to myself that I can be here, that like this is what it's meant to be, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But it just wasn't time yet. And I think trusting that calling and trusting that my path is mine, and it will pan out how it's supposed to pan out, was a big decision that I had to make, and I'm very grateful for it.
Well, you can talk about a few actual networks, and one big one like ICANN for an industry that is trying to, or
uplift,
is vested into uplifting, you know, we talk about uplifting La Hui, but uplifting that industry, right?
Totally.
The acting and whatnot. And that was very touching for me to see you in that, and just the inspiration of all the actors coming back. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that, but that coming back, you know, the stigma you talked about is, you know, mom and dad went away. We went to Colorado, really close to the same time, but not the same time, right? I was at Colorado State, mom was at CU Boulder, and we found our way back to UH Manoa. And
had the best time.
Oh, we had the best time.
I'm having the best time.
You know, we definitely did. And, you know, of course, we started dating, and then we dated through college, and then figured that out, what that was going to be like. Possibly having to move away, which was resistance there, here and there. But, you know, like, it ended up right after undergrad, you know, mom found her, like, forever job and stayed with it. And but anyway, like, yeah, we built our own network that you do, and we all benefit from. You know, so we wanted you guys to explore that, right? Explore being able to go away and what that is like. Different than where we were, because we didn't have that exposure like you guys did, right? And we talked about that when you guys were deciding what schools you guys saw. Europe, you saw, right, the different parts of the continent. So it wasn't as big to go to expose you guys selves to a little bit more, right? And you guys already did so. So coming back home and coming back to school, like, I'm glad that you kind of had to navigate yourself and find a way over here, but you can thrive, right? There are the industries, there are things that are here in place on Oahu and in our state that need our young people to take over, right? And to come, and build and give back to our Lahui, give back to our people. I saw a great one where a guy was, he's in taking Olelo Hawaii, and everybody was like, what do you do with that? So, but he said, he's Hanekeaka, and he wants to hear Olelo Hawaii on
big screens.
On the big screens, right? And I thought, wow, like, he's telling other kane and whatnot to, think about it. Yeah. Right? Like, yeah, different for us, right? I don't know. Like, even when I used to do little things, right, extras and stuff, it's still kind of like this, right? Still kind of whatever. But that idea, if you were to take it to the exposure for people and whatnot, right? You yourself, I mean, you were there too, right? And on the well, it was too, but like being the stunt double. Stunt double.
Oh, that.
But talk about that, like how that can be impactful and meaningful for you.
Thank you so much. There are spaces for us here, and there are spaces for Hawaiians, for indigenous people in the film industry, and that is being shown, whether that be in shows like Rescue High Surf and Lilo and Stitch that's coming out, and also in the community with the help of ICANN, which is the International Culture of Arts. Excuse me if I'm saying that incorrectly, but they are basically an organization that uplifts the film industry here in Hawaii for indigenous people, for people that are just local, and are bringing together a community for us to work in. And like I was saying when I talked about not auditioning for PACE, I didn't have people like that. I had theater, I had community theater, but I didn't see anyone doing the dang thing, Like how I think you had one of our cousins, his name Kalei, who has done this before, right? I think you've had people before you that have shown you the way, in a sense. I didn't really have that. And so when I look at it now, being that way, creating that community like we're saying, is so impactful for not only me, but the people that are coming up in this industry. And in the last episode, like we talk about in Rescue High Surf, not only was I in it, but two of my directors that directed Rent were also in it. Kekoa is also Hawaiian. All of these Hawaiians, all of these people that we know and love and that are so dear to our hearts.
Laka.
Kekoa plays Laka in Rescue High Surf as one of the main people. to see that and to be a part of that, and I'm like in it. I'm really in it. And having people learn and just be the forefront. We're literally like stepping through such a big wave of stories of Hawaii, stories in Olelo, Hawaii. Kaipo is going to be in Lilo and Stitch. Like, all of these different stories about Indigenous people are at the forefront. And I think we're there. We're making strides, we're making waves.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, what you guys shared is, I hope, brings value for you folks, you know, those of you who watch. And really creating, how do you create value? How do you create and sustain the value through challenges and adversities? And I feel it's a big part for our families to really observe and be aware for, and what they do for their children, and how did they foster it to be able to, right, to go through that. I mean, because right now, through life, right, life's journey, there's always challenges and adversities, and we only can do so much, right? And we have to trust and believe that you folks are going to be able to, you know, thrive, continue to thrive, and go through it. And I'm thankful that, you know, we're able to have these times and we can talk about it, and you guys come to us and we talk about it. But also, like, you guys are the one that's doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And I know it becomes difficult when you feel like you're by yourself, out there performing, out there living, you know, out there exploring.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, like, what's your go-to? What's some of the foundational characteristics or values? What are some of the things that, you know, that we grew up and, you know, we sort of just did for you guys to find it?
From what you guys are just saying, like, this whole time I was just thinking about it, it's just, like, mostly just being intentional. I get told a lot that I'm pretty intentional with, like, what I do and, like, how I am. And, like, that is just a big thing to focus on, like, your intentions and, like, how important it is to you, and like, what you're doing is just, it matters, right? Everything you do, like, just from taking that right step or like stepping with the left, like, anything like that, like, it matters. And not just for me on the volleyball court, but just in life. Like, a lot of things that I go through with my team and, like, is talked to us about is not just for us right now in playing volleyball, it's just for our life. Like, and so that's what's really important to me. And also just being in Utah and being in a different area, it's, you, like, learn a lot about, like, yourself, but you learn a lot about, like, what other people are, like, what their values and how their, like, what their culture is, and it's really different, right? It's really different from how we were raised, and like, you see a lot of, like, core values like respect and, like, responsibility and accountability. Like, you see all of those, but it's very, like, it's still very different.
It's just different.
And, like, the way we speak, the way we do things, and like, how we're doing them, I think, is something that's super important. And, like, that's kind of just how we were raised, right? You kind of just, like, that's just kind of how it works, like, and they don't understand it, and I don't understand what they're doing, so it's just nice to kind of go through that process that I probably wouldn't have ever gone through if I didn't play volleyball, didn't go out and go onto the continent to go to school. Like, I could have stayed home, like, anyone could have just stayed home, and that could have been maybe the easy way out.
But also, not an easy way out, but, like, could have been another possibility, or just, like, something that you wouldn't have experienced if you didn't go away. Yeah,
and I think also, too, is just being grateful. I think a lot of people, like, especially in this day and age, like, it's hard. It's easy to just forget about all the things that you get to do. Like, you get to play volleyball, you get to act, like, you don't... We've had, recently we had a talk with, I don't know if you know, her name is Tia Stokes, but she went through, like, this, like, throughout COVID, she had, like, a really bad sickness, she had cancer, and she just talked to us the other week about how, like, the opportunity to just go out and be able to live. Like you don't understand how it like could affect you when you don't have it anymore. And so like that's also just being intentional, being present. And I guess I also get caught in like looking so much ahead and looking at the future and like what I have to what I have to be and what I have to do to get there, right? But I'm just like, sometimes you just have to stay in the now, and that's just refocusing on what you're grateful for, and that remember that we get to do this. Like we don't, like a lot of people don't have the opportunity to talk to their siblings or to their parents, and it's something that's super important that we are able to do. And you get to wake up, you get to go to eat ice cream, like things like that. So I don't know, I think
so why not enjoy it,
right? Why not live it?
It's so easy to just dwell in all the things that you're not doing well, and I am guilty of that.
We
all are, right? But it's just something that's super important to also just remember. Like some people can get that stripped away, like right after this. Like some.
I think that is. I think that's amazing. Dad and I was just talking about that yesterday, of this, like, why not just live, you know? Like, why not just live? And yesterday, I am having all these auditions, which I'm so grateful for, that I have to memorize. But then shifting that into, but I get to memorize. I get to audition. We get to be here. And I think when I talk to other people about school's a privilege. Like, learning is a privilege. From what is happening around the world, we get to do this. We get to have conversation, and like you get to drive Granny to go to our doctors. And I think shifting that perspective is something that'll just keep your soul happy and create a higher vibration anywhere you go. And when we talk about going to different places, I'm finding community here because now I'm grounded enough to be able to do that, and I know how to do that for myself, and I know what I need to be happy and to feel wanted in a space. And I didn't know how to do that in New York. And now what I would say as to like advice is, if you are in other places, create that space. If there isn't a space for you, then I was telling Dad last night, then then you need to create it, and you were meant to do that. But I think something that has helped me is finding that groundedness in who I am, because I think maybe you've had that for quite some time, but I don't think I had that when I was going to New York. And so coming home, finding that, I'm still finding that, I'm still learning and still figuring out what I need, what I like, what I can do for myself, what makes me happy. But being aware of your own thoughts and your own feelings and who you are is going to allow you to fully connect with somebody else, because you're fully into who you are and not outside of you.
I think what we are talking about too is sometimes the best thing's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Like in relationships, in food, in job, in everything that you could be a part of. Sometimes it's right there. It's just right there. And sometimes we're too busy looking around for everything else in front of us, behind us, and it's everything that we can gain from is right there.
Right there. Staying present.
So what was said, yes, being present, being forward thinking, right? That is something to definitely we always wanted and practiced and done. However, a lot of the times, right, like even for us as parents, is we were here now with you guys being young adults already. And so, man, we think about all the time before we look at the pictures and videos of everything, like, what has already happened, and it brings us joy and happiness and like, oh, where did the time go, and some sadness about it all. But now we're here in this step of you guys transitioning into becoming young women and adults, and how all of that prior, right, the the different schools, the different homes that we lived in, all the different things that we transitioned toward, right, is that we still had the foundation of our own selves, right, of what mattered to us, and then to then build upon that and continue to grow into the many things that everybody trips on us, right? Like we're here, there, everywhere, and whatnot. But overall, right, is that we bring into, right, the everything that we've learned up and then continue to build on that and grow from.
Yeah. How do you think, if you have one thing to share for parents, like what is something that you and Mom did to implement that into us, and like that groundedness, or like what do you think is something that we can practice?
Well, I think one thing that is Mom's better at than I am. I'm the protector, right? So I always want to be there and, you know, fix stuff and do it for you folks. And I had to realize, right? Like I talked to you, like you know, as you now become an adult, like it's the chores and the responsibilities that we had that then you know how to do when it's your time to do it, right? It doesn't help you to then, if we're doing it, right, and getting it done for you, then you don't know, right? So a lot of times, you know, we as parents don't want to see our children fail and don't want them to suffer, you know, but some of that needs to, so you build, right, tolerance.
It into us,
you build capacity, you build the ability to find confidence. Right? And Mama was always stronger about that. It's like, no, let them do this, let them do that, right? And I'm like, you know, right? Going to New York was definitely a big thing for me. I had to really realize that if I don't let you fly, like, how is that gonna help you grow as an individual, right? With so much out there, like to.
So I think all of the different things that you guys did, a lot of it was subconscious, because I feel like we did so many little things that eventually made us into the people like we are today. Kalei can maybe attest to a few.
So what seemed to be like punishment and whatnot, right? And the chores and all these obligations you had to do, right, Kalei?
Yeah, I mean, you said it yourself, Mama's better at that than you. I mean, I was always like naturally on the shyer side when growing up, and I just had a harder time like talking to other people and like going outside of myself, because I was like, nah, Mom can do it, like all good. And then so like she'd make me like
the way Mom was doing something
not all good.
And like so she would make me order my own food and call Pizza Hut to order pizza for the family, or I don't know, like make my own appointments. And I'm just like, why? I don't want to do that. Or like have tough conversations that I didn't want to have. And it was just like very uncomfortable. But like as I grow older and I understand more about what kind of life is like, and like how to navigate through it, it's all of those experiences that got me through. And
the hard times, right? It's funny, right? It's funny how that hard times makes us grow, right? Change helps growth, right? And promotes growth.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, Mom, like, why are you making me do this again? And then I just find myself more and more like my mom.
My mother.
Not just looks, but just like everything around, like just how strong and how I'm able to speak to people when I need to, and I'm not like and I can like what's it called, advocate for myself when I need to, and have those hard conversations that I never would ever want to have. And it's just funny because it's like unconsciously, like all those things, like you said, kind of just shape us into the way we naturally are, and that's just how we were raised, and how you guys like instilled things in us, like responsibilities and chores and things like that will kind of have to get passed on or like navigate through and stuff.
Yeah, there was the obligations that there were no swaying from, or or
couldn't say no
from, right?
Yeah,
so.
I wanted to share one more thing about this like transitional period, about thinking too much about what's going on or what's gonna happen next, because I think after finishing rent, I was a little bit, for maybe a day, but I was a little bit like, okay, well, what's next? Like, I have nothing. Like, what am I doing, right? Like, what am I moving forward towards? What am I working on? But then, like, during rent, I was also super overwhelmed. It was just this idea of wanting to be present, but also figuring out the balance of being present and also moving forward. Because I think sometimes we can be super aware of what's happening next and always about the next step and wanting to create the stairway, but then not looking at what's in front of you. And then sometimes I think we can be so present, and which I honestly think is better than the latter, or the latter is better than both the what I just said, but being in that, like, being fully there, so it kind of gets, I had the anxiety of being stuck and not knowing what's coming next. But I think as I'm saying this, being present is always going to get you to the next place, because you're fully there the whole time. Like, in doing so, in being present in rent, I have made so many connections, and I'm already working on my next thing. You know what I mean? I'm already moving towards my next thing.
Right?
Yeah, I have auditions coming up. I have scholarships. I have the film that's happening in April. So I think, actually,
you didn't have to look forward. It kind of was coming already.
It was already
by
there.
Being present.
Yeah, by being present. By being present, things were already coming my way, because I wasn't anxious, and I wasn't thinking so hard about what I'm doing instead of just being.
Yeah.
And we come back to this often in all of our episodes, is rather than doing, be. And I think you touched on that greatly, of this, rather than thinking that you have to do something, you get to do something. And so I think in what we're doing now in school anyway, and whether you're in school, whether you're traveling, whether you're doing anything post-graduating, or just in any time of your life, how can you switch the narrative or make wherever you are yours? How can you create friendships and be able to observe and be able to see what's in front of you? Maybe it's not for you, but it is what it is, you know? I think letting people be what they are, letting people be who they are, letting things be what they are, and knowing that that's for you, or just, you know, just getting it, taking it as it is, whether that be good or bad, is something that we learned very early on as from our parents, and that we continue to grow into. But something that I would say is that has helped me is learning how to ground yourself and learning what you need. In New York, that was something that I learned. I didn't know how to do, and staying in your house is not going to help you. Staying in your dorm and just being by yourself is not going to help your homesickness. It's not going to help you create friendships and create community. You actually have to go outside and talk to people and try and finding people that align with you, not code switching. I think when you are grounded, knowing who you are and being able to code switch, obviously, is a skill, but bringing your fullest self to every opportunity, every place that you go, is gonna bring in the people that are supposed to be in your life. And I think that is what you're doing, what I'm doing.
So I think what we all can learn from is, like, we always took steps, right? And sometimes it's fearful when you take that step.
Yeah.
Right? Because of many have fear of failure, right? But without that, there's no growth. So one thing that we've talked about is not right or wrong, the right choice or the wrong choice. It was whatever that choice was at that time, and then we pivot and we learn from.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, what we can do, right, for our viewers too, is to look at that, right? But continue to build the relationship with whomever, right? Your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife, your partner, but look to create the next step, right? Create that next step. Continue to build support, within your lives. And I think for our children, our teenagers, young ones, young adults and whatnot, is don't be afraid to go take that step. And create it for yourself. Yeah.
Like life is an experiment, kind of. It's just like you gotta feel it out to kind of know, and if you don't take that step, or if you don't do something that's pretty uncomfortable, then you don't know.
You're never gonna know.
If you may like that, you may not. You may like it, but you just don't know. So just taking that step makes a difference.
I think what Kalei said too, of learning to lean on others, learning in your scholarship process, learning to lean on the people that are around you. You don't have to do it all alone. You don't have to do it by yourself. And you have people that care for you. You have people that want to help you, want to succeed, and to trust that and to lean into it. Yeah. It's your community.
So mahalo again, taking the time to sit down with us. Right? Mahalo to Waikea for being here for our kids, and providing them with hydration.
Yes.
Again,
thank you to Kako'o Hawaii Mental Health Collective for having us today, and to our dad for being here with us. Thank you so much to Kalei for being here today. I think you have such an amazing view on life, and as an older sister, it's insane to learn from you. It's not insane, it feels so good to learn from your experiences and how you go through them, and your knowledge and who you are, and how that allows you to go through those experiences, and to be able to talk to you in this realm and in this space. I want to have you again. I want to just talk forever, because I feel like we want to make sure.
Never know. Sisters,
daughters,
Kine
Sisters Kine Tings. But stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Be intentional, like Kalei is. Be intentional about who you are, what you're doing, and I think you'll get very, very far. And again,
I'm Dad.
And we're daughters. And this is Dad and Daughters
Kine Tings.
Kine Tings.
Adios.